everyone. It's Saturday, January 4th, 2019, and today I'm talking about something really common in the LA County jail system for males and females, and that is hygiene and cleanliness conditions in there. And I'll throw in a little bit of medical and a little bit of some other general things in there, and how they don't follow the rules and regulations, as far as the law goes, as far as cleanliness for the inmates in there. So it actually all starts with intake. So the LA County jails, and again, I'll say this, I only know about LA County jail system. I don't know about the other counties in California or out of state, although I will say this, a very, very long time ago, I was relatively briefly in the Madera County jail, and that was because I was actually in state prison. I was sentenced and I was serving out a state prison sentence in Chowchilla, California. And over there, in there, I actually caught another uh, felony case for assault with a deadly weapon, for stabbing somebody. And what happened is that they put me in solitary and they kept me in there. So because of the case, what I did is, and that was my first time in there, and with all of my naivete, I found a way to get out of solitary because it was my first time, and it was so stressful, and of course I hated it so much that what I did is, when I was given an attorney, initially in the case I was assigned an attorney. I asked that attorney, I had a very good attorney, her name was Victoria, and I had her actually have me pulled out of the prison into the county jail, and that the jurisdiction there was the Madera County Jail, and I was there because I had a new case. So technically, legally, and that was the only way that I got out of there, into the Madera County Jail, and eventually into the general population of inmates there, so that I wouldn't be locked up, 23 or 24 hours a day, which in the long term they did have me locked up that much, even over there. Um, is if you're fighting a new case, or fighting a case technically, they arrest you and they put you in the county jail. So since they arrested me and read me my rights, then I have the right to be in the county jail while fighting the case. And that's how I know about that jail, because I was there relatively briefly, and even in that brief time, though, they did end up putting me in solitary over there because they were prejudiced by what the state prison staff told them. So, and the conditions there were actually a little more bearable than what was in the state prison, being kept in solitary, because there you are locked up 24 hours a day. And as anybody who's been in that position and in that situation knows, you're handcuffed everywhere they take you, including the shower, and you get strip searched. At that time, you got strip searched before being handcuffed from the cell to be taken to the shower and locked up in the shower, and then they would strip search you again before taking you out of the locked shower, handcuffed back to the cell, handcuffed. So you can imagine how it would be, and then you only got a shower every 3 days. So, okay, back to the immediate subject, which is the LA County Jail. LA County Jail has been sued countless times, whether by individual inmates or as a class action lawsuit. They've been sued forever, and they still get sued. And they make initial amendments because most of the time, like 99.5% of the time, they settle these lawsuits. And they settle it, and those settlements are based on that they're supposed to make certain amendments to their medical conditions, to their hygienic conditions, um, food, treatment, all of those things that pertain to inmates. And so, but it's always just a formality because they always go back to the really abusive and unconducive conditions. They do that all the time. That's how they are until the lawsuit is either, reinitiated, or I'd imagine there's a new lawsuit about the same thing. So what happens is, and I will again, I'm going to preface this by saying that I'm going to explain this from two perspectives. One from the perspective of a general population inmate, and one from a second very uncommon perspective, which is from my perspective as a solitary confinement, in other words, a K-10 labeled inmate. So when you're initially arrested, before you're arraigned, you're arrested and you're processed through the LAPD, and they're the city. So they take you, to, and actually, my only experience in my long history of arrest is always mostly in Van Nuys, so that's the only city system that I know upon initial arrestment. So what they do is when you get arrested, and it's such a devastating experience that never gets old, or like, okay, I'm used to this now, you know, I just become stronger for it, and I know it's my own actions, but a lot of the times the punishment didn't fit the crime. Okay, with that aside. So what happens is they arrest you, they take you for processing to the city jail, and that's the LAPD in whatever station that has jurisdiction over wherever you were arrested, fingerprinting, photographs, all that. You go through the system, and then if they give you bail and you post bail, then you're out of there, and you get a date to for your arraignment. If you don't post bail, you're given a bail and you don't post bail, you can't or you don't, or for whatever reason you don't have a bail, if it's because you're under probation or parole or any other kind of supervision, or you have a warrant that has to be taken care of first, then you're not given a bail. And of course, most murder cases, then in California, you're not given a bail. So what happens is that in the cases where you can't, post bond and get out, you'll be stuck in there for, I believe, 72 hours, and they can't hold you longer than 72 hours. So within those 72 hours, they do transport you to court, so you'll be arraigned sooner than if you posted bail. You have to get that arraignment within 72 hours. And then from there, again, it's the same thing. If you're given a bail and you can post bail out of court in the court lockup of whatever court that you're in, then you're out of there and you're given a different date to come back to court. If not, then it's the horrible process of being kept in the court lockup to the end of the day, or whenever they deem you to be put on the bus, shackled and chained, and put on the the Sheriff's Department of Corrections, which is the county jail bus, and taken to the county jail. And that's where it all basically starts, or starts over, however you want to look at it. And in LA County, which is the most corrupt jail system, it's also the most horrible and unbearable. It's absolutely, it's hellish in every aspect. So what they do is they take you to the county jail. As a general population inmate or even solitary confinement inmate, what they do is you're most of the time you're shackled to another inmate, and depending on what other inmate or arrestee that you're shackled to, it can, okay, well, this is how it is, so I'm going to take it and I can bear it. Sometimes it's really, really bad though. Um, you know, if they've been in there for 3 days and, they're still drunk or they're still coming off of something or whatever, or if, just depends on what they were arrested for. So you're taken off the bus by the, here's matrons. The women, the female sheriff's deputies and CAs, custodial assistants, I think that's what it stands for. They're sadistic in there. They're I call them the peasant class. They're the working class. They're in their own classification of life, with people like themselves. Anyway, so you get off the bus and they're just, they're yelling, shut up, stop talking, walk in a single file line. They unshackle the inmates when they get off of the bus. The bus drivers, the sheriff's deputies who drove the bus, they'll unshackle the inmates as they're taken off the bus, and it's always under controlled conditions because as the bus pulls in to the Sally Port, which is the bus depot of the jail, every step of the way, every gate and every door is locked behind the bus. So that's how it is there. So they have no fear of an inmate like getting loose and running out or getting away because there's no such thing, in Los Angeles. So they take off the shackles and the chains. With me, they won't because immediately they've received word that I'm a K-10 inmate. I forever ago I had a lawsuit against them for the conditions in there, and ever since then they've retaliated against me. Mine was not a class action lawsuit, mine was an individual lawsuit. But the circumstances behind it, just very briefly, I'll say this: the attorney who initially who I met in the jail, who came to see me because of the conditions, he then became involved with me and they hated that, and he would come to the jail every day to see me, and he was also a smart ass himself. He was young and just a smart ass and a sociopath, so he'd go at it with them and they take it out on me, and they K-10'd me from there. They put me in solitary. So every single time, and I'm ashamed to say this, but every single time that I've been arrested and been in there, which has been several times, they always just automatically just they do the same thing because they have me in the system as that, and they will not put me in general population, which for the most part is preferable because the conditions there are so absolutely filthy that you don't want to be in a cell. It's bad enough being in those cells by yourself. You don't want to be in one of those cells in LA County with another inmate. It's really, really bad. And it's no better being in general population now because you still don't get too much more time out of the cell than a solitary confinement inmate does. So when they get me off of the bus, they don't unchain or unshackle me. They just separate me from the inmate that I was shackled to, and then they will keep me cuffed and they'll put me in a separate cell. And for me, for the intake process, it's just as long or if not longer than the general population inmates. So, as a GP inmate, when you first are taken there, they put you in a cell. It's a cattle call. They herd you in a cell with so many other inmates, and sometimes you don't have a place to sit. I know because I've been in there with them. So, I mean, they don't care. Yeah, each holding cell has a certain capacity, but they never abide by that. They just do whatever they want, the sheriff's deputies that work there. So, depending on what time you get there, as far as food, they will give you something, but they will not give you any type of anything to clean yourself with, to wash your hands. There's no soap there, there's no shampoo, there's no deo, there's nothing. Yeah, they're supposed to provide you with that even when you the first moment that you get there, there's supposed to be some kind of soap to wash your hands, you would think, or hand sanitizer, because there's always staph infections and there's always the infection of the month running around in there, and you're supposed to be given something to keep yourself at the very least just clean, for every inmate. But you're not given anything. If you're very, very lucky in one of those filthy holding tanks, you might find a sliver of soap somewhere stuck to the sink, which is really old and melted, because somehow at some time some inmate before you got a hold of some soap from one of the deputies, under whatever circumstances, and washed their hands and left it there. And the trustees, they call them trustees, the inmates who are assigned to clean out the cells are lazy, so they didn't feel like, prying the melted soap off of the sink. But it's there, and, 9 out of 10, I would use it. I would just like scrape it off and use it, at least something to wash my hands with and my face. Um, so again, 99.5% of the time, you're not going to even have that there. So there's a sink with running water, there's a toilet, and that's about it. That's all you have. Most of the time, there's no tissue in there to wipe your hands or even wipe yourself, so you don't even want to like pee in the toilet in there. The conditions are still to this day, they're horrible. And it's the same thing in a single cell. In a single cell that they put me in, most of the time there's not even a bench to sit on, so I stand. And as far as making phone calls, there are inmate phones in there. They're always off. Single cell or GP cell, the phones are always off. So you're in there and you're going to be in there for hours and hours. There are steps to go through. There's the medical intake where they have to ask you questions and then process you from there. There's the general intake where they ask you questions about your sexual orientation and all of that. They ask you these questions, but they don't really separate you by that. The only general way they separate you is, like a psych separation where you're with the other psych inmates, or a K-10 like me, or general population. You tell them if you're bisexual, trisexual, only sexual, whatever. It doesn't matter. These are just formalities, questions that they ask. So intake processing for a general population inmate is very, very long, and it is long for a solitary confinement inmate. Um, what happens is that, and they'll tell you from the start, you guys are going to be here for a few hours. Don't ask questions. Don't ask how long it's going to take, this, that, and that. They don't want to hear it. They don't care. These deputies and CAs, they have no conscience and they have no emotions except cruelty. So they don't care how sick you are, if you're coming off of drugs, alcohol, any chronic condition, what's going on with you, if you're pregnant, if you have seizures, if you're prone to this or that. They just don't care. If something happens to you, they'll have some trustees come with a stretcher and a nursing staff, and they'll take you away, put you in a corner, take you to the general section of medical and the intake downstairs, and whatever they decide to do with you. Um, and as far as food, we'll go back to that. Depending on what time you get there, you'll either get a peanut butter sandwich, and you'll be lucky if it's peanut butter and not some kind of cold cut that's unidentifiable. They say it's turkey. I don't know what it is. I've never, ever, ever once even opened one of those packets, and all the times that I've been there, never ever opened one of those packets and never would. Peanut butter, it's a greasy, sugary peanut butter, but if you're hungry, it's what you eat with the 2 slices of bread they give you, and that's about all you get, and maybe a juice. If you get there anytime after about 4:30, you do get 2 microwave burritos, and I think those are actually vegetarian, so I think they're soy. So, and I don't eat meat. You do what you have to do to survive in there, depending on where you come from and how you live and what you feel is okay and is not okay. It's what you do with what you have. That's it. Bottom line. So you sit there and you sit there and you sit there. Um, it used to be a long time ago that when Civil Brand Jail was open and functioning for the females, they would do a mandatory gynecological exam on you when you first got there. I, I don't know. I think it was they would also do a blood test for um, I think syphilis and something else, chlamydia. I'm not sure. Uh, and those were mandatory. Like if you didn't do it, they send you to lockup or something, or they segregate you until you would agree to do it. Now, when you're in there, they don't do those mandatory. They do at some point offer it, and they'll send you a pass, during your confinement there to be taken to medical and get that. But it's really, if you don't want to, just tell them, you know, you're on your menstrual. I would never voluntarily let them touch me, but there are a lot of times, it depending on how your body reacts to those conditions. I mean, I've gotten itchy throat. I've broken out. I've gotten ear infections. Your body can react with like even a yeast infection just to the food alone from eating so much peanut butter. The water there is not exactly safe to drink. It's drinkable. That's it. I mean, at home I drink and eat very, very clean. I don't eat meat. I eat a lot of fish. I only eat organic. So because of the difference for me going from white to black, and it's a white day and night difference. That's how my body reacts over there to drinking the water that they have there. The water doesn't hydrate you no matter how much you drink it. You get bloated. This is water that's just borderline drinkable, that won't kill you. It's large molecule water, so you're not hydrated. Um, you're eating peanut butter all the time. And I actually have allergies to nuts. I still eat nuts, but at home I can eat raw nuts and I can eat it. I can control how much I eat, so I eat a little bit at a time. Over there, peanuts are not nuts, they're a legume, but still, if you have allergies to nuts, you'll most likely have allergy to peanut butter. And I do, and it was the only thing I could eat because I'm not going to touch that meat. So it was like peanut butter and bread all the time, and it starts to affect you. You don't get any fresh food there. Once in a while, you might get apples, depending on what they have, what the donations are, what's coming in. That's what you get. It's what they throw at you every day. So you're not getting anything fresh. And just that alone, the lack of fresh food, makes your body react. So how far you want to let medical go with you is, again, up to you. When you know what's available, what's not available, when you know the conditions, when you have knowledge of what goes on there, a lot of the times, believe it or not, you can call the shots. Not like out and out call the shots with them, because that never happens, but you can control, you know, what you undergo there, you know. So, um, again, you will be there for hours with no soap and no way to clean yourself. Um, they give, for the females, they give out sanitary pads, but they're very stingy. The only thing that I can say is that when you got there and they did what they call dressing you out, which is taking you out of your civilian clothing that you were arrested in and putting you in the jail issued clothing. They would give you used panties. And I've never once worn those panties there. I've always managed to avoid it. One time it was in a very disastrous way, which I did not choose for it to be that way, but that's the only, that time I also avoided it. I've always avoided it. I will not let anybody else's panties go near my body. They say they wash things with bleach and they sanitize them. That's a lie. You cannot sanitize underwear that somebody's worn who has diseases, and most of the people who come through there have had some kind of disease, and HPV is so prevalent just in general. And imagine being in there, and those panties have been worn over and over and over again, and you can just imagine what's been going on. And they just wash them in the washer with all the other panties. And in fact, I've heard, and I don't know if it's true, so this is not on any specific authority, but I've heard that they actually don't even use bleach, they use salt. And that's their version of sanitizing things. There's no amount of sanitation. The state prison system does not give out used panties, and neither should the county jail be allowed to, but they've been doing that forever. Recently, they've stopped. Only in intake. When you get to intake, you get a pair of disposable paper panties, and I'll take those any day. But then when they get you to whatever unit you're going to be kept there, when laundry time rolls by for you to get a laundry roll on a weekly basis, you will get used panties unless you're very lucky and they have a new shipment of brand new panties, and they start putting those in the rolls. And those are times you keep those and you wash them out by yourself with your hands. You wash them out, you put them someplace separate to dry, and you wear those. Wash and wear them, wash them over and over again and wear them. And you never put them back in the laundry, you keep those, because it's rare to get brand new ones. And this is where it comes in, the advantages of being in solitary, where you can wash your things out and have a place to actually dry them in that cell, because there's a second bunk and you can clean it off and dry your own things. With that said, getting through intake itself is really bad. If you have a chronic condition, you have no choice but to go through the medical intake, and then which takes you even longer to get to a unit where they're going to confine you. But what I suggest is, if you don't have a chronic condition and you're healthy, even though you might have a headache or a sore throat or something going on with you, when you go through the medical downstairs in intake and they ask you questions, just say nothing is wrong with you, because if you name any little thing that needs medical attention, then they put you in a different group and you'll be kept down there even longer. Even when the other inmates are finally ready to be sent to whatever housing unit, they're going to be sent to. So if you can avoid it, tell them there's nothing wrong with you, and then later down the line, put in a medical request to see medical. And that in itself is a really drawn out process, and it's hard, but so is being in intake for even more hours than you would normally be kept down there. So, when you go through the entire process, then they assign you, if you still at that point you haven't posted bail, because if you have bail, you can still post bail at any time, at any hour. But if you haven't or you can't, then as a general population inmate, you're sent to whatever housing unit that they're going to keep you in. They call them pods, I call them units. And normally that's when you're given a so-called hygiene packet. And for me to show how inadequate it is what you get finally is, I'm going to illustrate or demonstrate here what you get. And this is a baggie. This is a baggie. This is a county jail baggie. This contains your entire week's supply of your means of cleanliness. This contains 3 packets of shampoo slash body wash, and you get no conditioner. It contains a tiny little Barbie-sized tube of toothpaste and a toothbrush the size of your thumb. Okay? Yeah. That toothbrush in there has bristles, that's it. And if you can hold it, you're lucky. It has a thumb grip. Um, the packets of shampoo. Here's a packet. Here's a packet. The packet of shampoo that you get over there is just about this size. So, the tube of toothpaste is just a little longer than this. The toothbrush is about this size. That's what you get. And the rest is up to you. Unless you have no money and you don't get any money, you can sign up to get one of those packets once a week, every week from the commissary, and it does come with, I think, 1, 2, or 3 stamped envelopes. They're embossed. A few sheets of paper at most, and a pencil, I believe. That's it. Now, you're not charged for those if you don't have money and if you don't have any money coming in. But even in the future, if you ever do get money, they're going to go back retroactively and charge you for this. I believe it's just about under $2 for each one. So if you come into any money on your county jail account, however many of these that you received before that money, they're going to go back. It's automated, and they're going to take out a payment for each and every one of those, so that if you get money and it's not that much, then you will actually have no money. So they debit you. They debit you retroactively, which they shouldn't. If at the time you don't have any money, you don't get charged, and you won't get charged. But with them, and I think that would be a really good lawsuit, it's actually a legitimate class action lawsuit. Why would they do that? Their commissary is so expensive, and you get below plain wrap grade uh, products there. It's horrible. You're not going to get any sulfate free, like healthy shampoo there. You can buy their shampoo, conditioner, toothpaste, candy, cookies, and of course the ramen soups, chips, and more chips and more chips. And these inmates think this stuff is mana. It's disgusting and it's horrible. If you're already ill, it makes you more ill. If you're not, it'll probably, I don't know, depends again on who you are and how your body is built. But then again, this is what you have to eat, so you make do with it. You know the stories about making a spread. It just is what it is. You can buy salami sticks. I don't even eat meat out here. I've never eaten the meat in there, and I never would. There are a lot of times I've gone hungry. I mean, No, they give you three so-called meals a day, two of them which are just bread and whatever, and in the evenings you're supposed to get a allegedly hot meal. It's never hot, it's always disgusting, you don't know what you're eating. I mean, it is as bad as they say it is. I know that the Madera County Jail, the food there when I was there was actually edible. Compared to LA County, it was okay. You could eat it. But in LA County, even if you're on a special diet, it's just as bad as the regular diets. And they do say that this is a Title 15. These are Title 15 meals. It's a Title 15 diet, and it gives you all of your basic nutrients. It doesn't, because I don't know how they consider the peanut butter that they give you over there a protein. It's not a protein, but they give it to you as a protein, and they count that as a complete protein. A pouch of peanut butter with more rapeseed, not grapeseed with a G, no, rapeseed, RAPE, seed oil or cottonseed oil, lots of salt, lots of sugar, and just a little bit of protein content. It has lots of carbs. This is actually bad for you. And this is not just talking about, you know, from my standpoint as a health advocate, just you could be anybody and eat that stuff and it's just really bad for your health. It's again though, it's what you get. So you sometimes you will go for days and days and days, no matter what kind of diet you're on there, and just get peanut butter and bread, and cookies and a juice and a milk and or a milk for breakfast and lunch for days and days and days, and dinner, whatever they give you. So you can be eating peanut butter for days on end, you know, um, unless you are able to buy commissary there. I will say this, there's one thing you can buy there which is actually good for you, which are the packets of tuna. The packets of tuna are like the budget pack, something you'd find at the 99 cent store for less than 99 cents. But over there it's almost, I think it's almost $6 for a packet, and it's just one serving. It's really, really measly. But whenever I could, I would buy those, and I would buy those and some tapatio, the packets. That's how I survived there, basically on the tuna fish, and I drank a lot of water, although it doesn't hydrate you. But what are you gonna do? You know, uh, shampoo and conditioner. They sell like stuff like kind of, it's not dark and lovely, but I think it's called Egyptian formula or something. That's about as moisturizing as the shampoo is going to get, and it costs almost $15 a bottle. Bottles are about this big. That's stuff that you get at the 99 cent store, and they charge almost $15 for the shampoo and then the conditioner, so you're spending as much as $30. If not, you do have the option to buy a small bottle of very basic shampoo slash body wash, which is very watery. Um, Sulfate laden, but whatever. That's, I think it's about $3, and it probably won't last you more than two times. I mean, showering every day, if you're lucky, if they let you shower every day. Um, that's what you have. Toothpaste is a very, very tiny, tiny tube. I believe they still sell Colgate. Um, but I think it's almost $4, and the prices keep going up. You can buy coffee. You have option of three different types of coffee, which is of course very expensive. The ramen noodles, they're about 10 cents in the store. I know at Bonds they're about 10 cents. I've checked it out. In the county jail, they're about $1.50 each. So if you're a baller and you get cases of it on commissary every week and you can shop every week, just imagine how much you're going to be spending. They don't give out mayonnaise anymore. You have to buy the packets. If you're lucky, sometimes in the lunches you do get packets of mustard. So when they're not serving you peanut butter, they're serving you the cold cuts. called bologna in there, and you get sometimes a small packet of mustard. So when I got those, when I was not yet on the vegetarian diet and I didn't touch those, of course I would keep the mustard though for the tuna that I would buy, and I would mix that with the mayo, and eat that. You also get a lot of carrots there. You get prepackaged baby carrots there. Was eating I've never had so much carrots. Carrots are good for you. Of course, they have vitamin C. I just never ate so much in my life. Oh my God. That's it. I mean, I don't even consider that fresh because they're pre-packaged. I mean, you could save those for a couple days and still be able to eat them. They're preserved to within an inch of their lives. But I was actually thankful for the carrots. Sometimes in the mornings, instead of peanut butter, you get hard boiled eggs. Okay, there's some real protein. I would eat those with the carrots for breakfast and for lunch. But you got more peanut butter than you did get hard boiled eggs. The dinners there are just really, really bad. If you're on a vegetarian diet, they don't change it up. They give you some type of beans and rice every evening for dinner. That's not a complete protein. Actually, beans with rice is a carb and not a protein at all. Yeah, those are what the dietitians there call protein. See, the dietitians have just taken enough hours to get a certificate, but I can't believe even how uneducated they are in there. Their common sense is at a below zero. It's like a -1. That's not a protein. Beans and rice are not a protein, but that's what they serve you if you choose to go on a vegetarian diet. Um, I think there's a kosher diet there, so that's actually a little better. You get meat there, but it's considered, you actually get these TV dinner type where they come in packages and then they'll heat them for you. So you could do a little better with those. But the thing about it is that I would actually, although I don't eat meat, I would have gone on a kosher diet, and I was on one once when I was there. The thing is that a lot of those packets of dinners have garlic and onions, and they're loaded with it, and I can't stand garlic or onions, so it was really difficult for me to eat. But you got other stuff that you could eat, so it was okay actually. But the last time around, I was on a vegetarian diet, and because they're so sadistic in there, there were times when I couldn't take it anymore with the rice and beans. Just looking at it was just like every single evening, like when you eat the same thing, it forms toxins in your body because your body stops metabolizing it as efficiently. So when there's not the right circulation in your body, I mean, it forms toxins. And I'm just putting this in a very generalized term because if there are any nutritionists and dietitians watching me, they're like, "What?" But you know what I mean. So sometimes when for dinner they serve for the regular diet, they serve the microwave burritos. They don't just do that for inmates being brought back from court downstairs. They actually on Wednesday nights, I think it was, they would serve the burritos, and I would eat those because I don't believe they had any meat in them. I think they were made of soy, so I was always eating those. And I was always asking for extra, just like every night I would ask for extra lettuce. If the lettuce that you get on a given evening there is edible and not wilted and rotten, which a lot of the times it is, it's so bad that it's actually there's like it has water discharging from it. It's really, really bad. But if it wasn't, if it was the fresh bagged lettuce, I would always ask for extra. And here's where I where my situation came in. Being a K-10 inmate and being on a vegetarian diet, they knew how I felt about it. I mean, anybody would be sick of that stuff. So, and it wasn't just me, it was other inmates also in the same position as me, being a K-10, being on a vegetarian diet. Um, you get what they give you. You're not, if you're not a general population, you don't have as much access to the trustee inmates, you know, where they can, like, if you can get buddy buddy with one or more of them, then they'll give you more of what you can eat or what you want than not. And there it's different being separated. So you're actually dependent on the deputies a lot and the CAs, and most of them are complete assholes. Once in a while there were one or two there who were like decent with me, and they would give me extra lettuce or they would give me the burritos. See, here's the thing, they have no logic in there. So these burritos, if they don't have any meat content, they still wouldn't give it to you on a vegetarian diet. You know, you would still get beans and rice, or even worse, noodles, you know, just these starchy noodles that are so overcooked that they're melted. So I had to ask for those, and once in a while I would get one, or if I was really, really lucky, I would get like two, and I would eat those. Or sometimes the trustees would like sneak me some, you know, so I would eat those. There were times there when I was so hungry and so starved. You know, if I had not been able to buy the tuna from the commissary for the week, or for, you know, sometimes it was 2 or 3 weeks, um, it would get to where I was just so hungry for real food. So you know, I would ask for the burritos, or sometimes when they were serving some kind of noodles and some kind of red sauce, you know, and it was like a meat substitute, like a soy bits, I would ask for that. Most of the time, these deputies and CAs wouldn't give it to me, even though they could, you know. Oh no, we can't give this to you. You're on a vegetarian diet. Well, asshole, this is the same type of food, and they wouldn't give it to me out of a sense of liability for anything. They wouldn't give it to me because they wanted to see the hardship. Like, you know, you get to a point where you're so hungry. And I'll give you another instance. One time when I was taken out to court, it was a court date, and I was in the uh, San Fernando court lockup downstairs in the basement in the dungeon. And I remember, I think it was like, I felt like I had an ear infection. My ear was really hurting me, this ear. And I was just like, I was feeling so physically ill. And they wouldn't help me in there. The deputies hated me because I would fight them back, you know. I would fight them on everything when it got to the point where they would push me so much and intentionally provoke me. So, you know what? That's how it was. You know, we were always at each other's throats. So I wasn't feeling well, and they didn't want to send me out. Here's the thing, if there's an emergency, what they'll do is they'll actually have paramedics, you know, they call it from the free world, from the outside come, and you'll be handcuffed, but they'll take you to the nearest hospital, and a deputy will be with you. That's for general population inmate. As a K-10, they would chain and shackle me additionally to the cuffs and take me out. Like that one time when I had, you know, an emergency. They didn't want to take me, but they had to. And then they let me have it, like, for every time that I was brought back out to court there. Of course, you know, I mean, it's what they did with me. So what happened that time is that they chained and shackled me. They didn't have the paramedics come. They didn't involve the paramedics. What happened is they just transported me in a sheriff's deputy SUV vehicle, and they just, you know, they sat me in the back, they cuffed me, and they took me out to the closest hospital, and I was seen in the ER by a doctor there for my ear. Now, the two deputies who took me were very, very nice. They were not the ones who regularly um, would assign themselves to deal with me in there. Actually, the two deputies who took me they remembered me from when I would just go back and forth to court for my court dates from home. So they knew me, and they were actually nice. They were decent. They were really nice. They were really cool. So these two guys took me to the hospital, and I was there for like hours and hours because that's just how it is when you're an inmate, when you're a prisoner. You know, they did keep me cuffed because they just, I mean, they have to do that. Um, the doctor checked me out, gave me some tests. I think he did an MRI for my head because I was having the ear pain and really bad headaches. And then after that, we were just waiting for the results. And I wasn't really too worried. I just wanted some kind of, if if it required antibiotics, then that's what I wanted, because you don't want to stay with any kind of physical ailment in the county jail. It's really bad there. So we were there, and I was in one of the rooms, and they were like, what you call sitting on you, because they have to be on you the whole time, because you're a prisoner. And I remember one of the deputies was offered by one of the nursing staff. She came, she said, "Hey, if you guys want, we actually have an area for deputies who bring in inmates. We have all kinds of things set out for you. We have bottles of water, we have soda, we have juices, pastries, whatever in a certain area. So if you guys want to, get this stuff." And he was like, maybe a little later, but no, no thanks. And they could have gone one at a time to get this stuff. So they didn't go, but later on, one of them went, and um, he got himself and his partner some tuna and lettuce sandwiches and some bottles of water. And when he came back, um, he asked me, "Do you want to watch TV?" And I said, "No, thanks." And I think we started talking about food, and like I was telling him, yeah, like this is how I eat when I'm at home. Like I'm like mostly vegan, and I only eat clean and stuff. So you can imagine how I feel in here. Like I'm eating peanut butter every day, and um, they started laughing, and we were talking about uh, eating clean and everything, and oh, and he actually had a packet of raw nuts on him that he was eating. I was like, "Oh yeah, cashews are really good, but I don't eat them too much, because I'm allergic. Although I do eat some sometimes." And but I was like, "Yeah, no, actually, I even at home, I love, like good, like wild caught tuna." And we were talking. I'm like, "Oh yeah, that sandwich you have, to me, that's like, to me right now, that's being in here, being a prisoner. To me, that's like lobster." And they started laughing again and everything. And then later on, after the doctor came back with the results, he's all, "Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong. You're running a mild inner ear infection. I'll give you like antibiotics and stuff." And so, but it'll be a while before they have all your paperwork ready for you to sign. So um, one of the deputies stepped out of the room. He's all, "Can she get a tray? Can she get like a dinner tray?" And he was like really, advocating for me. And I hadn't even asked for it. But believe me, if you're an LA County Jail inmate, you would rather have hospital food any day than to have the food in there. And I definitely wanted it, but I never said anything. And he just went on his own. He was like pushing the nursing staff, like, "Hey, like, I want to get a tray for her." So he brought me a tray, but what he had done is earlier when we were talking, he's all, "You know what? On You can have this tuna sandwich." I was like, "No, that's okay." He's all, "No, I'm going to save these bottled waters for you in the tuna sandwich." So even when he brought the tray inside for me, he's all, "Okay, which is it going to be first, the tray or the lobster?" And I was just laughing. So yeah, I ate the tuna, and then I think it was some kind of slice of cake and roast beef and gravy, which I didn't eat. But there was like hot coffee, there was rainbow sherbet, all these things that I would normally never eat, but I wolfed down there. Like there was a roll and like a pat of margarine. I ate that. Like I ate the tuna fish sandwich. I had both bottles of water. Oh my god, to me that was so special. Just like I think it was like Sparkletts water, and I loved it. Um, yeah, and they were like, they just waited, and then I had left the hot coffee because I was like, because they were like, yeah, we're gonna have to go soon. I go, I know. And so I left the coffee and I was like, okay, I'm done. He's all, no, drink the coffee. You know, you can't give up this good coffee. So it was hospital cafeteria coffee. But in relation, it was actually really good coffee to have when you're a jail prisoner. So I drank the coffee and I mean, so that's how it is in there. And then it was back to jail, you know, and they took me back there and everything. And so those are the conditions in there. Again, you know, it's just you have to man up and be a soldier and do whatever you have to do to survive, you know. And again, there comes a better day, you know. No matter how bad it is, just know that things eventually get better. But it's all at this is that you can't give up. You have to persevere. You have to just march on and be strong and know that things will get better in whatever capacity. But things will go higher, they will get better. You just have to keep going on and keep keeping on. Thank you so much, you guys. Again, this is a tiny channel right now. I would love if you would like and subscribe, thumbs up, or even thumbs down. Just I would love to have new subscribers, and I'm open to any and all questions. Have a great rest of the weekend, and I will see you guys really, really soon. Thank you so much.